What's up, boys? Today I want to talk to you all about the TBC Classic release, my experience, my impressions, what kind of the community has thought about it, raid content being cleared, where I see the expansion going, how long the timeline's going to be, and pretty much everything, right? Pretty much just like a general first impressions video. Now, for pretty much everybody who pays attention to WoW, you probably knew that TBC Classic came out this week on Tuesday. It's been a really great time for a lot of people. I've really enjoyed being able to play the game. It's been super fun, and I'm level almost 69 now, and I will probably get 70 tomorrow. Well, for sure I'm getting 70 tomorrow. Would have gotten it today, but I didn't stream, so I wanted to save that content for the viewers. And I really enjoyed it. It's been fun to go back and do the quests, and I think that more so it's been fun to play with my friends and just kind of have that beginning of expansion feel. I think it's very hard, really. It's very hard for the beginning of an expansion to not feel good. Usually it always feels it feels fresh, it feels new, it's revitalizing for the player base, and it's just a great experience. And that's like the first month or so of the game, and then things do usually start to taper off after that. Now, for a lot of people, the release went very well. I think that, for me, there was a lot of screen caps made of whenever Farolino was getting DDoSed. Big surprise, streamer server got DDoSed. It is what it is. But yeah, for us, it was pretty shitty. But I think that for most people, Blizzard actually did a pretty good job with the release. Most people got on, most people were able to play, and there weren't really that many bad queues. Layering was done, I think, pretty fairly. Whenever I was going around, I didn't see like a huge amount of people. And in general, I think Blizzard did a pretty good job with the release. And this is despite my release being pretty fucked up. But I do understand that my experience is definitely the exception and not necessarily the rule. I'm sure some people did also have technical difficulties too, though. Now, we've already seen a lot of guilds, not a lot of guilds really, but at least a handful of guilds already clearing the entire raid content. People already clearing Magtheridon. People already killing Gruul. People doing all of Karazhan, including Nightbane, even though Nightbane is bugged and you can't even see the debuffs on the ground. People still kill them. I think the world first kill was with 9 players. So, I mean, I think that this kind of goes into the age-old conversation that people always have with these content, is people are disappointed and sad that it didn't last longer. People are unhappy that it did not get cleared as slowly as it originally was. Because I think for a lot of people, there's like the nostalgia effect, and they remember how hard Karazhan was for them and their guild full of people who clicked their buttons, and they didn't really understand what aggro was, and they didn't know what line of sight was either. So whenever you compare player knowledge from 15 years ago to now, it's pretty obvious that you're going to have a lot better players. And I think that one of the other really big things that a lot of people don't really take into account with this is that people just know how to do the fights. And I think that, like, for example, if you went back and you had all of the top guilds do another race through, let's say, Eye of Ashara, or not Eye of Ashara, Ashara's Eternal Palace, or even like Castle Nathria, I can guarantee you that the second race through, if you were doing, like, imagine like a second world first race, if they had to go back and start Shadowlands all over again with the same gear that they started with the first time, the second race would be over a hell of a lot faster. Because one thing that people don't really take into consideration is how long it takes to develop strategies for these bosses. For example, the first time that you do Magtheridon and you click on the cubes and you don't really know what they do, it will take some time for you to understand, oh, okay, so you have to have the cubes and then take the cubes over to here, and then everybody clicks them at the same time and they get a debuff. Now, for obviously new players now, or not new players, but like the players now, these mechanics are not very complex at all, but for its time it was, and I don't think it's really a bad thing. I don't think it is a bad thing about TBC that the raid content was cleared quickly. I think that it was pretty much average, and as I said on the first day whenever I went to bed, I said I was expecting to wake up and watch the Magtheridon kills, and I woke up and watched the High King Malgar kill, and Magtheridon happened a couple hours later, and I woke up a couple hours early. So I think I was pretty much on track. The raid content's going to get really cleared fast, and I think that's going to happen in T5 and Tier 6 too. Sunwell might be maybe a day, but I actually don't really think even Sunwell will be. Players just understand the content, and also they've practiced it probably a bunch of times on their own private internal servers. And I do want a lot of people who are playing TBC to understand that. The reason why I'm kind of talking about this is because I know a lot of you guys out there might think that there's not really a reason to do the raid content. I can guarantee you, okay? I can guarantee you that the raid that you're probably going to be joining for the first time in Karazhan is not going to go as well as Apes, or it's not going to go as well as Progress's Gruul's Lair raid. It's just probably not going to happen. So try to enjoy the content, enjoy the raids, and have fun. And this is one of the things that I've talked about a lot with Classic in general, is that the game is not necessarily hard, it is fun and it is rewarding. And although I do think people would like to see a little bit harder content, like maybe a little bit of classic TBC Classic Plus, I'd be okay with that. You know, maybe after Sunwell, sure. But I think that now it's, you know, all but assumed, or all but guaranteed, I would say. It's definitely assumed that we're going to get Classic Wrath of the Lich King. But regardless, I do want to say that don't let that detract from your own personal enjoyment of the game. The raids are still hard, and ironically, having the boosts in TBC probably makes the game a lot more fucking close to the original experience, because you're going to be playing with people that boosted their character, and they have no idea how to play, just like it was back in the day. So I think that I think it's going to be pretty enjoyable to do the raids. I'm looking forward to doing them this weekend coming up here, and I don't even know if we're going to clear them all in the first week. And I think that for many people, that's going to be their experiences. I would say less than probably 10% of players, probably 5% of players, are going to clear Magtheridon's Lair on week 1. It's going to be a pretty intense thing. It's a lot of time commitment to get at least level 70 in 1 week. Most people have jobs, etc., and so they don't really have that time. But anyway, raid content getting cleared very early is not this is not an indictment of TBC of being super easy or anything like that. I think that obviously the game was much more simple then, but at the same time, you can't really look at some of the guilds that have practiced this a million times and then use that as the standard to judge the content off of. It's just, and also people that know the content. And that's why I used the world first example with some of the previous raids in Retail WoW. A lot of it is developing strategies and knowing what to do. So after you know that, it makes it a lot easier. Now, the hype around TBC, I'll talk a little bit about that. The hype around TBC was clearly not as much as Classic WoW, which makes sense. TBC is it's an expansion primarily for more WoW aficionados. It's an expansion for people who want to, you kind of have to be invested and involved in WoW already in order to care about TBC. Whereas, like, I think Classic WoW, the first release, not only was it groundbreaking because it was like this big, it's kind of like the waterfall. It's like, oh my god, it's finally happening. All the, fucking, the dam is falling down and, there's all this water coming through. Everybody's excited to see it because it's like it's finally happened. And with TBC, you don't really have that same type of feel, right? You kind of know what you're getting. I think that a lot of people had expected it, especially after those data mined, the two things, right? The data mined information from BlizzCon, and then also the surveys that were accidentally sent out for people for Burning Crusade. And this was like maybe 6 months ago or 8 months ago or so. I think it's pretty obvious that Blizzard was going to do Burning Crusade, especially after how heavily they monetized it. And after seeing how many mounts are running around and how many boosty boys are running around, I think we could pretty well expect that we're going to get a Wrath of the Lich King too. So, for better or for worse, I don't want to talk about a whole lot of that in the video though. It's just a whole bunch of bullshit, and I've talked about it a million times. But the point is that I don't think TBC is going to be really as hype as Classic WoW. And I do think the TBC release cycle will probably be a little bit shorter because so many players, like, you're just going to get gear a lot faster in TBC because you're looking at basically the same amount of gear acquisition per boss, but you're dividing the amount of players in the raid by almost half. So, and also for more than half, and obviously Karazhan. So you're going to have those raids gearing up much faster. You're going to have crafted gear that's relevant for longer. You're going to have gear that exists through tiers, like Rissen's Lost Pendant and Karazhan, or Dragonspine Trophy, etc. So players are going to hit gear plateaus much faster in Burning Crusade, because the gear is relevant throughout different tiers, and also you're able to get badge gear. There's just tons of different things you can do in Burning Crusade. And overall, I do think that the Burning Crusade endgame is an improvement over the vanilla WoW endgame. The main reason why I think that's an improvement, and also you guys should take what I'm saying very seriously, because I'm a warrior, okay? And if a warrior thinks Burning Crusade is better than Classic, that should mean something. The fact is that you have a lot more basically win conditions as a player in Burning Crusade. You can do professions, you can do PvP, you can do raiding as well. There are so many other options that you have in Burning Crusade that you can take advantage of. And I think those things really do kind of add a certain amount of verisimilitude to the game. It gives a variety to the game. It gives an expansion to the game. And I think that's really what makes the expansion Burning Crusade so great. And overall, if I were to say any expansion that I would want Blizzard to kind of build a Classic Plus out of, it actually would be Burning Crusade. Wrath of the Lich King had a lot of great things, but there's some things that I wasn't really a fan of, mainly heroic dungeons. Or heroic raids. I didn't like the 10 and 25 man versions of the same raid. Just wasn't a fan of that. I felt like it was too recursive. Burning Crusade has really great progression where you have to go from raid to raid, you have to do the attunements, etc. And I think that it's a really great experience for a lot of people. And so if you haven't tried it and you care about Classic WoW, you wanted to see what it was about, I think that you're going to have Classic WoW. Burning Crusade is a lot like Classic WoW without as much bullshit. You don't have to deal with world buffs, you don't have to deal with intentionally obtuse quest lines, and there's just plenty of other things. The leveling is faster. There's a bird right there. Oh, he's a fat ass motherfucker. God damn. No wonder I've been running out of seeds. Anyway, all I'm saying is that the experience is, I think, better than Classic WoW, and especially in terms of professions. I really enjoy professions in Burning Crusade, and I think professions in Burning Crusade was the pinnacle of profession design in all of WoW. So I really am looking forward to playing the game. I don't think I'm going to play it forever. I think that what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to level up, like my warrior. And honestly, I went into it bright-eyed. I'm like, man, I'm gonna level up my warrior, then my paladin, then my hunter, and then my warlock, right? Fucking flavor of the month Andy here. But after almost leveling up my warrior, I think we'll probably wait maybe a month or so until I level up the paladin. It has been, oh man, it's been brutal. Going through all those dungeons and all those quests, man, it's been rough. But it's been fun going through them again. Not as fun as Classic WoW questing, I would say so, because I've already done, the Burning Crusade questing hasn't changed that much ever since whenever the game originally came out in 2007. So, for example, you could go through right now in Retail WoW and just go do the Burning Crusade quests again, and you're going to have pretty much the same experience that you did back then, but it's just going to be easier in Retail WoW. Whereas in Classic WoW, you had Old Azeroth, which was removed from the game completely. So you had that as a draw into the questing as well. But regardless, I really did enjoy myself. I've had a great time so far. I look forward to doing the raids. And I just think the game does have a lot of potential. And it really is going to depend on how Blizzard wants to manage the patch cycle. And I do think that they could be a little bit more aggressive with it, but I don't want them to burn through all the content in 6 months or maybe even 9 months. I'd like to see it last for at least a year or so, and that way we can look forward to maybe Wrath of the Lich King or maybe even some extra Burning Crusade content as well. I think that a best case scenario for me is that, a realistic best case scenario is that they do Wrath of the Lich King and then they add content in Wrath of the Lich King after Ruby Sanctum. I'd love to see that happen, because realistically, how are they not going to do Wrath? Really, how are they not going to do Wrath of the Lich King after how well Burning Crusade is done, and especially after how well Classic did? Whenever Wrath is regarded by many people as the pinnacle of the game. Everybody, if you were to ask, I think most WoW players that have played the game since Wrath what their favorite expansion was, many people will probably say Wrath of the Lich King. So I think we're pretty much going to guaranteed get Wrath of the Lich King, and I'm looking forward to that too. But right now, we just started TBC, and so I'm going to get back inside and start figuring out what gear I need to get out of the heroic dungeons. But yeah, don't let people clearing the content really fast demoralize you. I can guarantee you, if you actually really want to have a hard fight, make sure to invite people that only have communal gear into your Karazhan run. You'll have a harder Karazhan than Mythic Castle Nathria. Anyway, guys, that's about all I've got. Just wanted to make a quick video, quick update on pretty much where I'm at with TBC, first impressions, experiences, etc. And I'd like to hear yours as well. So I usually try to read the comments in these. So let me know how you guys have been doing in TBC and how you've been doing and how much you've been enjoying it, etc. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I've got. I'm gonna go get some food, and I will see you all tomorrow on stream. Peace.